Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspired Women Gathering Show. This is a show that talks about all things from life, relationships, spirituality, business, and everything in between. Women inspire me through their stories, their resilience and resourcefulness, their tenacity, and the powerful movement that we make in the world. I love connecting and having deep conversations, sharing with you the women I'm so blessed to know and who inspire me, especially as we navigate through this deep unknowing in our world today. My name is Dixie Bennett. I'm your host, and I'm a soulful women and wealth coach and healer, helping heart-centered entrepreneurial women heal their self-worth, embody their soul purpose, and create sustainable business with heart. And I created this platform to highlight the most amazing women I come across and connect with, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. So today's guest, I'm so excited to introduce to you. Her name is Sahar Nafal, and our topic today is leadership, thought, community building. Sahar Nafal is an expert transformational leader, mentor, and speaker for conscious women leaders and entrepreneurs who are creating change in the world. Sahar has a unique approach of guiding women to visibility, being seen and heard through their authentic leadership. Her unique approach to life is at the heart of her dynamic style of guiding thousands of women through education, adversity, and over a decade of leading her own soulful community. Sahar believes as women, we need to come together in community in authentic ways to channel our energy, share our stories, and to heal as a collective. Welcome, Sahar.
Thank you for this invitation, Dixie. I so appreciate and honor the space that you've created.
Thank you. I just want to share a few words about Sahar. So I'm delighted that she's here today because she's one of my mentors and teachers. Well, I was going to let her talk, but she's in California, and she actually was one of the key people who brought me down to California. I had been going back and forth, believe it or not, for 4 years. And this was a couple of years ago. It's been about 2 years since I've been in California. But I was down almost every single month. It seemed like every month, every other month for about 4 years. And Sahar gave me the beautiful opportunity I got to work with her and be part of one of her speaking programs. And it was actually a story I'll share another time, but when I got on stage, it was a very life transformational experience. And I have to say, it really helped me learn to speak from the heart and also recognize that I am a powerful healer from stage. So that was two of the biggest things for me in our work together. So I'm so delighted that you get to connect and hear about her today. So I'd love for you to dive in a little bit more about how you started, how you got into conscious leadership, and just share your story.
Thank you so much. And I just want to add one more thing. I loved your energy and the way you showed up at the time. And it was, I know, new to you. The stage was new to you, but you were such a delight. And everybody just loved your energy and who you are. We're talking a little about authentic leadership. You really embody authentic leadership, Dixie. So I just
Oh,
wanted to
thank
share
you.
that with you. You
Yeah,
really do. Thank
I
you.
really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. So how it started is, I grew up in the Middle East. I am Palestinian and most. And what matters to me is my culture, my heritage of being Palestinian. And throughout my life, I just found myself that I didn't fit in. My family is Greek Orthodox, so I lived in an Arab world primarily that was Islam. And of course, I have nothing against Islam. It's just the
Mhm.
religion that they practiced. And so I found myself in a country that told me that, whatever faith your family is, you don't belong. I'm Palestinian, so there was no homeland to belong to. Also, like being blonde, blue eye, Arab Palestinian, or Arab light complexion, I didn't fit in. So the physical, the belief, the background, the religion, every aspect. And of course, 79, 76, my family finally decided to immigrate to America. And I was so excited because prior to that, my family took me there. And I noticed that there was a lot of people that practiced the same faith, and they looked like me. Wow, they're blonde people with blue eyes. It was so exciting. But yet I was labeled the Arab now.
Mm.
So again, I found myself not belonging and not fitting in. And of course, past years later, I was 25, I made a decision to get married. And that marriage, I also didn't belong. And it was 18 years of unhealthy abusive relationship. And I got to a point where 4 years prior to leaving that relationship, I didn't know who Sahar was. I was between all the adversities that I've been through. My family were loving and amazing and everything. And we lived in a very comfortable financial comfort space, but still, I was still the identity of who I was. I really was not sure who I was. So 4 years before I left the marriage, I called myself Sarah, Sarah. That just like Sahar, Sahar, right?
Yeah.
So I thought if I hide behind Sarah, Sarah was the one who had the multi-million-dollar home. Sarah was the one that had the vacations all over the world, the homes overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, everything you could ever imagine, the money, the real estate success. But Sahar didn't know who she was. I put her on the shelf. Doing personal development and growth work helped me awaken to the essence of who I am. And I share with people, Sahar means dawn, early in the morning when the sun rises. So I am about a light, you know, showing up as light. But I was with such darkness because of the loss of my identity, not feeling sense of belonging. So in 2007, I made a decision to leave the marriage that no longer belonged to me. And that's when I stepped into Sahar. And that's when I stepped into the dawn of who I am. And I thought, what is it that I want to do? With my two girls, obviously, we moved into a home. And I thought to myself, what if I start a bright side of life community? Because I was living in the dark side, going through foreclosure, bankruptcies, IRS auditing, harassment from, my ex, also divorce courts, the child support courts, everything you could ever imagine that could happen to a woman happened to me within a short span of time. And plus I had to be financially responsible for my girls and myself, leaving all the mess of the money that he left behind. And I had to be in charge of that as well on top of everything else. And so the only way I knew is to step into the Sahar, step into the dawn, and go and serve. I saw my mom as also was a wonderful leader and a speaker, and I saw her speak and empower others, and I said, I want to be that. I want to go and empower, inspire women to live the life that belongs to them and know that they belong. They belong, despite of what anybody else tells them. That despite of who you are, where you come from, your background, your color, where you are, whatever belief, you belong in this universe of ours. And that was my main message. So I went from the dark side to the bright side of life every single month. It was a metaphor for me to empower and inspire women, and also to be supported by my beautiful community. And within less than a year and a half, those 6 women moved into a 20 and 30 and no longer fit in my home. So I had to go and rent hotels. There was a shift that happened, like an aha moment while I was sitting in my chair right after I introduced Dr. John Gray, the author of Men from Mars, Women from Venus, to come and join us at the Bright Side of Life gathering with 250 people that were in the audience. And after I sat down, I go, oh my God, I am really at the bright side of life right now. And I am empowering, inspiring people. And it was just like, wow, I finally belong to my dreams and my visions. And that was my story.
Isn't she captivating? Oh my gosh. I'm like so sucked in. I so miss our time together. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
And I love that we reconnected recently, thank you to coronavirus. But anyway, I try not to put that word in there. It just came out. But I love your passion, and I love everything that you stand for. And the groups that you cultivated, heart-centered, conscious women, the people that you brought from all over. Like, I was the only Canadian flying down, but what was so cool about it is so many other people were flying in from other parts of the States to come and be a part of your community and a part of your tribe, to contribute, to support you. And I love all of that contribution. Your events were in person, obviously amazing, big events. And so tell me a little bit more about shifting into the consciousness aspect, especially coming from your heritage, your background, transformation into become, married to a single mom, and then into the bright side of life as a conscious business owner, like massive transformations.
Thank you. You know, who I am and what I show up as is everything. The adversity, the culture, the background, the belief, the values, everything. And I tell people, especially women who are in leadership or even men who are listening, is that know that you have to embody fully of who you are. And of course, the inner work, the inner leader, the inner alignment is one of the most, if is not the most important thing. And it all starts within, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so my journey began, it's another story. I've just recently learned, Dixie, that I'm actually a storyteller because
Yes, you
everybody
are.
tells me they just
See,
love
and
listening.
I've always known that about you because I'm always captivated and drawn in.
But I've never owned it. I never actually verbalized it until last year. And I go, darn, I am a really good storyteller. So there's another story where the shift happened. I think through stories, how you connect with people, and I'd love to share it. I began, remember when I called myself Sarah and I knew that there was a Sahar inside of me. I remember a cousin of mine came to me one day and she goes, I went to this workshop by this man called Tony Robbins, and my life transformed and you have to go. And I was really in the midst of really no identity, had no clue. And I knew at the time I needed to leave this relationship, but there was so much invested, right? Not only my girls, but the money and everything you could ever imagine. And there's so much fear. And she said, this is a transformational 3-day event, so you got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, the Unleashing the Powers Within. I don't know if you've ever attended.
I haven't attended, but I'm very
Oh,
familiar. Yeah.
yeah, it's very powerful. And so he was like my first guru, my first,
Oh, wow. Even
person
Tony
that I've
Robbins.
ever listened to. And so what happened is I decided to go. I remember that day I woke up in the morning and I'm driving and I said, this is the day of my freedom. This is the day that I'm just going to be free. Whatever it is that's going to happen, and I'm going to be free. I'm going to get back to Sahar. I was just so excited. I get to the hotel the night before. I had a wonderful night's sleep. Woke up, one of the first people to be standing at the door before those big giant doors with thousands of people that were coming up, and they opened and I ran right up front, got to sit down as close as possible so I could see Tony, so I could transform my life. I was so excited. And when I got there Friday, he went through a whole entire day of nothing but, I call it brainwashing us, to do the fire walk. Have you heard of the fire walk where you get to walk? But prior to that, into him talking and, oh, I am Tony Robbins. I'm here to empower you to unleash the powers within. And he was so like he motivated us. We were up dancing and it was just so exciting. And he said, on a piece of paper, it took us through a whole series of exercise, piece of paper, write exactly what you want to unleash as you cross that fire. And I wrote down a message. I wrote down a message that was so in my heart that I wanted to do so badly. And I put it in my hand, Dixie, and I walked outside following the team of mine and the team leader. And there's about maybe 10 or 15 of us. And each team had a role. And then you go outside and there's rows and rows and rows of fire, right? And I stand up, I stand in my line, and I'm maybe about the fifth person, and one after another, my heart would beat, boom, 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 beating more and more and more. And I got closer to I'm almost there. There's only one person ahead of me, and with the glance of my eye, I looked, and Tony Robbins was just coming and walking towards my lane. And in the fire, all the fire paths, he would go around and empower and inspire others. Back then, it wasn't as many as now, so he was able to do that. Right. And he came up, and it was my turn. He goes, come on, you're going to cross that fire. Not only was my heart beating now, boom, boom, it was going boom, 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 boom. I had to cross the fire so I could make that dream come true. And Tony Robbins is standing there watching. Yeah. And as soon as I put my right foot out to step into the fire, Tony said, stop. So did my heart. And I go, in my head, what's up, Tony? I was all excited and I'm ready to move on. He goes, the fire isn't hot enough. Put some more coal. And you know what happened? That second that I stopped, I got a visitor. 2, fear and uncertainty
Right.
came to visit. And fear is going, you're not strong. You think you could cross this fire to make this dream come true?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think so. And uncertainty, are you sure you want to cross this? You know what's going to happen at the end? And within the split of a second, once they're shuffling, and I could never forget this, they're that noise in my head and that fear and uncertainty speaking to me. Both people on the side ready, they held me and they said, okay, are you ready to cross? And I looked and I said, nope. They literally shoved me to the left to let the next person go and walk.
Oh, wow.
And I went to the left and I start walking, and now with my head down and tears down my eyes, another person, another part of me showed up, and that was shame. Shame and fear, and again, fear still there. And I was just fear and shame is shame on you. That thing that was in your hand, the message was not just for you, it was for your children as well.
Right.
And it felt so badly. I went and sat next to, there was a bench I'll never forget and a beautiful tree, and I just sat down and I'm crying, and I just wrinkled that thing and I stuck it in my pocket, and I just said to myself, I don't know when I'm going to cross the fire.
Right.
And then later that evening in the hotel, I pulled the paper out and I read it, and it was, my wish is to leave my abusive relationship of 18 years or my marriage of 18 years. And I cried again because now I couldn't cross it, cross the fire to make that dream come true. But the metaphor is I did cross the fire. It took me 2 more years of crossing the fire and getting burnt and being hurt, but I made it. Right. And that was the metaphor of the story. I crossed the fire, I made it, I divorced, and I left, and I've raised both of my girls on my own, and both went through college. And that story still now is how I began to cross every single fire as a leader, and know that at the end, it's going to be worth it, because there is a light at the end of each fire. There is goodness that happens at the end of each fire that you cross in the path.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, how many times, I know for myself too, how many times do you come up to the fire? I've been there too. I haven't done the fire walk, but I've done the fire walk. And just coming up to that point of no return, and yet it's like you get derailed, right? I call it life is a constant construction zone, right? We come up to signs, we come up to no entrances, no exits. We have to detour and reroute all the time.
Yeah, and those part of us keep showing up to tell us to detour, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Our conditioning, our upbringing, our voices, our parts that may think they've served us for us to be, to move away from the walk, the fire walk. So yeah, that's a metaphor. And that's when my deep work, I said, okay, in order for me to cross the fire, I start going to workshops and seminars. I got certified as a life coach, business coach. I start working with people, because I believe you as a coach, when you coach and heal others, you're healing yourself as well.
Absolutely.
It's learned about the laws of attraction. I start speaking about the law of attraction. I put myself out there. I just went full force to learning, and every year my connection to spirit, to God, is deepening. And now I'm channeling that right now. I actually do intuitive, healing calls right now. I mean, it's just, the more you stay on that path of enlightenment and of awakening the inner self, the more you connect, the more you're able to serve humanity. And my journey has, haven't stopped yet, and it will not stop until my physical body leaves Earth. So
no, you're a very, very special lady. And I love, well, going back to the turning points, I love how you shared, the reality. Sorry, before I go on, I want to go back to a moment where you shared, being raised Palestinian, coming to the U.S. And I know that your mom was a powerful, I want you to talk about your mom for a minute. And I guess, that's where I'm going. I want you to talk about your mom for a minute, because she was such an influence in your life. and she was an important piece. Did you ever see yourself at a younger age doing what you're doing now, or did you just always see yourself as a mother? Or tell me a little bit more about that.
Thank you. So my mom was a Palestinian peace activist. She spoke on stages all over the world with world leaders. And I saw that. She chose her mission and vision. She chose her mission. That was her number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the family aspect wasn't, I'll just say equally. I don't want to say it wasn't important because she showed up for us as well. But like her vision of empowering, inspiring others, and sharing her voice as a Palestinian woman was really important to her. So that was the first thing that she valued her movement. She valued her what she stands for. That's what I want to say. She valued what she stands for, and she took action upon it. Right. So with that being said, I saw that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to become an activist. I don't want to fight for a cause. I just want to make people feel good. That was my thing. But she saw it in me. So at age 16, we started a folkloric dance troupe called Sahar Folkloric Dance Troupe. But that was my first experience and my opportunity of leadership. I led like a small group of maybe 5 or 10 dancers, right? And I did the choreography. I learned the music. She saw that leadership in me.
Yeah.
And I started there. And then from college, I did the same thing and so on and so forth. And the first time I ever stepped on the stage was dancing. So that was the first time. Yeah. So she did influence me, but because you know how it is, you don't want to be like your mom, right? It's like, I want to be like her. I want to empower, inspire others, but I don't want to go to the political piece or the activist piece. That wasn't part of who I am, but she was definitely a big influence. And she was so ahead of her game as a Palestinian Christian Arab woman back in the 80s, right? To be able to travel the world. And thank God Dad had an open mind to where he was okay. He wasn't like, you know, your typical Arab man. More or less of all the certain aspects he was, but not in general, very open-minded. He grew up in Kuwait with the Brits, you know, the British people. And so he spoke English. He, you know, went to a British school growing up. So he wasn't as you know, small-minded as some of these other Arab men are. And so he allowed her. And so she gave me a permission to be okay to do whatever it is that I want to be okay to do. There wasn't like, no, you have to stay home, you have to cook, you have to marry. But that was also an important part of being the Arab woman, is to also get married and have children. So I chose that path early on, right? To have children, what have you. But I think part of me, that's why as soon as I left that marriage, I thought to myself, you know, I did little leadership within the marriage, but it was very limited, that I want to do more of what my mom did, but more that is aligned with who I am. Yeah. So it's the identity, again, that whole thing of identity. But yeah, she was a powerhouse. God bless her soul.
I know how much of a powerhouse you are. I could just imagine your stage impacting thousands of people in her own way. Because I know you're magnetic when you are in the room. And you have energy that just gets people, like people are leaning in. I even find myself, I'm leaning into your conversation. You really know how to draw people in with your power and your storytelling. So I've always known that about you. So thank you for that. And you mentioned dancing twice. So what kind of dancing were you doing?
So, you know, it was folkloric Middle Eastern dancing.
Okay.
So it was Lebanese, Palestinian folk dance. It was Egyptian folk dance, Moroccan, Saudi Arabia folk dance. Each country of the Arab world, there's 23 Arab countries. You know, we chose the ones that we enjoyed. We did fashion shows representing different Arab countries. So that was the kind of
Very
dance
culture
that we
rich.
performed.
I love that. And I know, well, I know that one of the things about you, and this always, I remember the aspects. Whenever you get on stage, you'd always share. So share with us what you do before you do a big event or before you go and talk. What's your ritual to get ready?
Yes. Gosh, I have so many rituals. Which one do you remember?
Well, it has to do with dancing.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So that's the first thing. On my way to the event, or at the event, there are specific songs that I listen to and I actually dance. I literally physically dance to get my body in sync and to get me excited and to get me happy. So I listen to the song and I just belly dance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and
it.
share some of your other rituals that you used to get ready. But that was always my favorite one because she
Yes, yes.
would, if you could, well,
I,
until we can come together in person. But
yes, yes.
Sahar is magnanimous from
Yes.
stage.
One of the rituals is before, once I set forth the event date, I set the intention of how many people I want to invite. And so I do something, the tally, right? I do little tallies, and every single tally represent a soul that will be called to come to the event. So that's one of the things that I do. And so I send them love and blessings that each tally represent an individual. And then I also have a ritual where I light the candles and set the intentions for gratitude. And you
Mhm.
lit one of the candles too, which I love. And I have that picture. It's one of my favorite pictures. And so I light 3 candles, and each one I invite the community to, think of 3 things that they're grateful for, and I name that. And I
Mhm.
also start with a prayer. I like to have somebody do either a prayer, invocation, or even meditation. Even now, my soulful leader virtual calls,
Mhm.
I do that as well. So
Mhm.
it's also the grounding aspect of starting any event is so important, because that's the set the whole premises of the event. So those are some of the rituals that I do.
I love that. And share with me some of your private rituals. What do you do on a daily
Mm.
basis to keep your motivation, to keep inspired, and to keep moving forward?
I love that. So when I wake up in the morning, I call it my hour of power. And that's something I learned from Tony Robbins as well. I just call it the power of my power of hour, an hour of power, because everybody has their own way. So that hour of power, I don't do anything. I don't look at my phone. I don't go to the laptop. I turn off the phone actually the night before. I hide, I don't sleep in the same area typically where all my electronics are. I wake up, and that first hour, and I even have a clock, so I don't have to go look at my,
Mhm.
phone, right? I have a digital clock that I look at, and then I wake up, and then I start by, I like to sort of like wash my face, brush my teeth, put lotion on before I do my meditation. Don't ask me why, but I just feel fresher that way, or shower.
I agree.
Um,
I think so too.
yeah, and then I do my meditation. Lately, I've been meditating on expanding love,
Hmm.
because I really feel right now our humanity needs a lot of love. And I
Hmm.
want to be the beacon of love, one of the beacon of love here on earth. And
Hmm.
so I'm moving forward by how can I expand my love for myself, for my family, for my community, for the city, for the state, for the country, for the whole entire world, the galaxies, the universe, right? And I do this meditation. It's by Yogananda, and it's 14 minutes. And then I drink, I nurture my body and my soul.
Hmm.
Okay, and I have certain supplements that I take, and I also have a drink that I take called Morning Complete, where it has the probiotics and the biotics, everything that I need for my body. I'm somebody who actually fasts, intermittent fasting, about 3 to 4 days a week, if not more. I don't eat until 2 o'clock, at least every other day, because I just don't feel like we have to be eating all the time.
Right.
I work on things that work for me. I am vegetarian,
Mhm.
no meat whatsoever. I'm incorporating a little fish right now, but I'm purely plant-based vegetarian. So that's important. So I'm taking my physical. And then the evening, I have to walk or hike. Nature is
Mhm.
very important to me. I've recently learned that I'm a flora empath, somebody who connects to plants. And I
Yes.
think part of me being vegetarian also,
Mhm.
because the plants and the fruits and the
Mhm.
vegetables and everything to do with trees. I'm a lover of trees. I'm a tree hugger. I have to go and connect to nature in order for me to refuel who I am, because as a community leader, I
Mhm.
need to give. And in order for me to give, I need to fill that physical body. I'm really, really focusing on taking care of my physical body
Mhm.
right now. It's the most important thing to me. So I'm
Mhm.
able to continue this kind of work. And I feel like there's more and more work for me to do out there in the world, just to expand globally, which I'm doing right now. So those are some of the rituals that I do. Listening to music that really moves me is very important to me as well. So
Mhm.
that's the physical, the spiritual. love having amazing friends. Communicating with people brings me joy and aliveness, you
Mhm.
know? So many aspects. I don't do the same thing every single time. Oh, one of the the new rituals that I've been doing. Actually, I did it before, but now I'm bringing it forth. I am grateful for every little thing that happens to me every single day. Every little thing, especially now. I really encourage each and every one of you who's listening,
Mhm.
get you a calendar. Get a calendar, just a written calendar, a brand new one. And every single day, any miracles that happen. A
Mhm.
miracle for me is finding a penny on the floor, right? Picking it up and writing it down.
Mhm.
Having someone invite me for lunch. That's like a miracle or something fabulous that's happening to me. Being interviewed. So today, being interviewed by you and the previous person that interviewed you, I'm going to write that down. I am so grateful for that. Every single day, I'm writing every little thing that happens, like unexpected, beautiful things that are happening that bring aliveness to my heart. I am actually recording them, and I'm putting them down, small and big. So that's just been really a fun ritual to do.
Beautiful. I know I play in gratitude and I have gratitude journals that I've been keeping actively every single day. I sit down with my just I do mantra. So my evening ritual, kind of like what you shared about the heart. I sit in the heart space and then I do some mantras specifically on abundance right now. And but I write in my journal every single day. I recap the day and what were the miracles that showed up. And
Oh,
my journals, and I actually, another thing that I've been doing with one of my other mentors is we tone our gratitude journal. So we
mm,
actually meet once a month and
love
we
that.
connect to our journals and we put them to our heart and then we tone ah to
Oh,
open up the heart and then it activates and accentuates everything that's actually in the journals.
oh,
It's really, really powerful and that opens up the doorway and gateway for more. And
yes.
every single day, as I have connections, opportunities for reconnecting with past people I haven't talked to in a while, new business opportunities, new conversations, new doorways for more. My global community has been growing as well. There's lots of amazing deliciousness that's happening on every level. So yes, gratitude, 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 and I love that you shared that as well. It's, if nothing else, it's gratitude has changed my life.
Mm,
I
amen.
remember a time where, when I first got introduced to it, I couldn't even think of really three things. And I wrote the exact same three things every day for probably about a week. I was so resistant. And then finally, all of a sudden, it's like this door open, and I could find so many things to be grateful for. And it hasn't stopped. It grows and grows and grows and
I
grows and grows.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it, love it, love it. That's amazing.
So I'd love to hear more. So you talked a little bit about Tony Robbins, and I'd love to hear who else inspires you. Who are some of your other mentors and teachers that have really helped you catapult into higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of understandings and teachings that's also really transformed your life?
Thank you. I've been through the Marianne Williamson. I went through teachings of Esther Hicks, of course, Eckhart Tolle, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I've read every single book out there. Of course, Deepak Chopra. Oh, I love his work.
Mhm.
I've been through all the workshops. I've seen Esther Hicks. I've been to the gadgets of the early stages of the enlightenment of the learning. But you know what I'm diving deep into right now, which is such an important work for me, is the Gene Keys by
Mm.
Richard Rudd. I don't know how familiar you are with the Gene Keys work.
It's come up, you and I have talked about it. It's been on
Yes,
my list to go back and check it out. So, and it's
yes,
come up in some other conversations.
yes.
It's
And
definitely on
it's
my
about
radar.
contemplating your
Hmm.
purpose, contemplating your role on earth, contemplating, your relationships, contemplating everything and anything that you are. And I highly recommend people, you go online and you do your profile, and each one of us have 11 or 12, 11 spheres, and each sphere represent an area of your life. Like my life's work is certain thing, and then my purpose is something else, and who I am and who I show up to be. And so one of the things that I've recently learned about my life's work, which is so powerful, and it doesn't have to be a specific thing, but it's about uh, not having expectations.
Mm.
Okay. So,
I think we can all use some of that.
yeah, that's my shadow. So you learn about
Yeah,
your gift,
right.
right? You learn about your shadow, and then you learn about your city, which is the highest way of expression of who you are.
Mhm.
And so I'm learning, one of the biggest thing that I'm learning right now is also one of one of my shadows, fear of failure. You know, I've succeeded quite a bit in my life, but there's always the background of if I reach certain, you know, certain success, I might fail. So I sometimes keep myself at a very comfortable space. I've reached certain success, but I know there's more in me. So I'm
Right.
working on that. So I'm looking at my shadows right now and that are stopping my way. And I want to give you an example for the expectation. I've recently learned agreements versus expectation. I've often expected things from others because I expect things from me, right, based on my journey, and I get disappointed. It goes back even to when I had people speak on my stage of The Bright Side of Life, right? I expect people to show up with value, with integrity. And then when that doesn't happen, I get disappointed. I expect people to do a certain amount. I expected so much of my family that, oh, they are my family, my brothers and sisters, and my father, he should be a certain way. And then I get disappointed.
Mhm.
And so now I've learned to agree and make agreements. You and I agreed at this time for us to have this interview. We agreed there are certain questions. We agreed. We made an agreement to show up together. You didn't say, hey, Sahar, once a week, we'll just show up on the call and we'll just go with the flow, right? And then what I expected is different than what you expected. And that's where the misunderstanding happened, the disappointment and the pain. So
Mhm.
I learned that this is a huge part of my shadow that I really need to contemplate on. And now, oh my goodness, you have no idea when I am into my gift right now, you know, a radiance of me showing up to the greatest of who I am. So I have no more expectations, only agreements with people. So now I'm going deeper into the gene because it takes about an hour, a year and a half to 2 years to you really embody all your spheres and really learn about your shadow if you continue to read them. And the book has like 64 gene keys that you're reading on a regular basis. So interesting. Right now, the universe is sending me like people that are telling me more about who I am because I'm ready to really learn the essence of who I am. I was introduced to the Jinkies last year. I've had my astrology read, which was profound and powerful. And I had, you know, somebody recently gave me a test on what kind of empath that I've learned that I am a flora empath, just like literally last week. So the opportunities of learning more about who I am, the spiritual aspect of what I sign up for are now showing up because I'm ready to hear and know who I am, know about my shadows, really face them, know about my gifts and how I could be the best that I can. And that's what I invite people to do. Get to know you from every aspect, your astrology, what brings aliveness to you, what are your shadows, what are the things that you need to remove so you're able to get out of your stuckness, you know, do the inner work, your inner child work. Oh my goodness, that is the most work. I think, do you do inner child work, Dixie?
I do. Yeah.
Yes,
I do it and I do it for my clients as well.
yes.
I think
That's
it's
what I was saying. I know you do it for your clients. Like,
Mhm.
understand who you are right now. This is the best opportunity. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. All of it. And the shadow, the shadow work is the most important
Oh,
part. And that's where so many people shy away from. They don't want to go into their shadow. They don't
no.
want to. Well, I mean, everybody is at the stage that they're at, but the deepest growth is when you can sit with your shadow and be okay with it. Be okay with
Yes,
the discomfort and learn
yes.
to really go deeper into the emotions.
Yeah,
It's
that's
one of the
right. And
biggest
that's what I love about the Gene Keys is not only do you get to learn about your shadows and even like human design. Have you ever done your human design?
it's another one of those things. I know a little bit about it. I know that
Okay.
I'm a manifesting generator. So I
Okay.
am a powerful manifester, and what I think about, I bring about, and I can bring it
Yeah.
into reality very, very fast.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge to work with people because I move so quickly that sometimes we had a conversation last week and then I'm like, I feel like I'm 6 months ahead of that person because they're working on that thing. Meanwhile, I've kind of like moved on in energetically. So it's challenging sometimes because when I move like a freight train, and it's
Wow.
fast and it's purposeful and it's embodied. Like it's
Yes,
just it
yes,
comes in and comes in, comes in.
yes, yes. And we
Um,
have to be patient with people
yes,
sometimes.
yes.
I know what you're talking about. I want to just read quickly. So, so the shadow's expectation, the gift is detachment,
Mhm,
right? Detach ourselves from expectation. The siddha, which is the best way you could express yourself, is celebration,
mhm.
right? So those are the ways that the gene keys work. And I think understanding these things and what you're doing, I really highly recommend that people, when they're ready to begin to discover who they are, truly who they are and what their gifts are.
Mhm.
I know that many years I was just like just doing whatever I need to do because that's what I was told to do.
Yeah.
But it's part of our journey, right, Dixie? And
Yep.
I'm sure you
And
relate.
I think there's still aspects of that because and I find for myself too, like I believe one of the things I fell in love with the most about you is you really brought spirituality and business to the forefront. And I am so in alignment with that. Like it is, we have to have both. As much as I do my business development, I equally do my spiritual development. I actually do more spiritual development because the business is more the knowledge, but the spirituality aspect is about really bringing that into reality, however it's meant to show up. But we still need technique, we still need to learn the theory and understand why we do what we do. And then there's the embodiment aspect of bringing it into real time.
I so
So
agree.
and I bob between both. So even in my life right now, I'm really focused on actual like real strategy implementation. So learn something, implement it like real time right now. And so it's very technical. And so I feel, you know, my spirituality is kind of over here and I'm kind of missing it, but I also need to really focus on my systems right now. You know,
Mm,
so there is a time and a place and still, you know, I can't be in my spirituality all the time. I have
mm-mm.
to go and do this part so that then I can go back and play in this part a little bit later because then I've up leveled my foundation, right? So I know that it's a little bit smoother and in the systems. So I do believe we need to play in both, and there's a time and a place, and it's also I think it's I had a great conversation yesterday with a beautiful friend of mine. We're talking about the mothering stage versus the
Mm.
crone stage. And, you know, as like I'm very much, I'm not a mother, but I'm in the mothering stage. And
Mm.
mothers are busy. So it's a time in my life where I'm really busy with my business. And what I love about where you are in your stage is I've watched you move into a deeper sense of spirituality. And so you're really embodying and embracing it. And I watch that as women, most of the women that I tend to work with are 50 plus. So they love that's their awakening into a higher level of consciousness where now their life is a little bit slower. They're not so focused on the kids, they're not so focused on the husband. They actually get a little bit of chunk of time where they're really now it's like, well, now it's all about me. And like you shared earlier, it's about the body. It's about focusing on the spirituality. It's about taking really good pleasure, radiance, and enjoyment in blathering yourself in self-care. So that's kind of the stage where I see you moving into. Does that resonate for you?
Yes, 100%. You know, I speak on the topic of aligned leadership,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about being aligned. And here's what I believe being aligned or embodying is embodying it fully, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I moved from doing the bright side of life because spirit has told me it's time for me to let go of the bright side of life platform because I have embodied the bright side of life. Now I need to move into the soulful leader that I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I follow guidance of what I'm supposed to be doing next. And so it took me, it was so hard for me to release the bright side of life. It took me 2 years and lots of tears, Dixie, to
I
let go
bet.
of the bright side of life because it was just my baby. But Spirit said it's time to stand into your soulful leader. And so my new platform, the Soulful Leader
Mm-hmm.
community right now. And when I talk about leadership and being in alignment, our external one is like, when it comes to members in your community, for example, or team, you work together in sync to accomplish. That's the external alignment, like to accomplish common purpose or external manifestation, like your vision, your innovation, your results, your drive. Those are all alignment for the external alignment, right? For your inner alignment is when all of your inner values, your principles, and what you stand for, what matters to you most, your life experiences and essence involves connecting with your core talents, your values, your beliefs, to your community. One of my favorite quotes is, "You are a mirror of relationship. Every relationship in your life is a mirror of you." So when you are aligned with the leader that you are, every relationship is a mirror of you.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for sharing that. And so beautifully said. I think, and I definitely see that we're all starting to move into a new level of soulful leadership. Definitely see the movement, the words are being used, more spiritual words are being used in business. And so how can you support the younger generations? Do you see, I guess, who do you see yourself supporting as you grow forward? Are you working with the younger generations? Are you mentoring them? Or what do you see your role as?
So my girls are young, they're millennials, and I see their struggles and I see their celebrations as well. And, I would love to help the millennials, and I am independently, but for some reason I draw in women that are my age group, right? And women that have already, their children have grown, they're no longer in their space, and they're really working on their inner, try to figure out who they are, because these are the women that are ready to step into leadership to help and support the millennials, their children. So those are the people that I call forth. It's people like me who's had children or may not have children, but who are ready to create and to be the change for the next generation to look up to. We didn't have people to look up to. I was grateful that I had a mom that somehow, somewhat, I had an example. But if you ask people in my generation in the 50s, they didn't have a specific, their mom either, she probably worked like a secretary, right? That was like a big deal. Or she even was a home. There was no example. I'm helping them become the example so they're able to give the permission, the okay for their children to achieve their dreams, because that's where it all starts. Yeah, that's who I call forth. I want to give an example for kids or whoever it is that's watching, from Richard, that what he said. He said, for you have to ask yourself as a leader or whoever you are, these questions when you're sort of trying to contemplate about your life. And maybe those of you who are listening, write this down. Number one, am I in the right place? Number two, am I in the right environment? Number three, where do I need to be? Am I in the right place inside of me? And am I in the gift frequency aligned with your gift? Those are the questions that you need to contemplate and ask yourself, no matter what age you are. That's where the value, your standard, what you stand for is birthed from.
Yes, and powerful. I have actually a question that just kind of popped up for me. I was looking at right before we got on the call, and it's so in alignment with this. I was looking at some Stephen Covey stuff, and put first things first. Personal inquiry. How can you be more of a leader for yourself to take charge in your own life or business? Right? So, and there is the exploration of the gift, I think, and that's where so many people are asking, what is my soul purpose? What am I here to do? How am I here to serve? At the end of the day, I believe it's all about serving. It's all about how can we be of service to our family, to our sisters, to our, our colleagues, our tribes, our communities. But there's still that, what is my mastery, right? It's that I was just doing some personal development and I went deeper into my personal mastery. And I've discovered one of my key gifts is to, or my soul purpose here is to embody worth, self-worth. and to help women deepen into their self-worth. And as I've been sharing that with people, they're like, well, yeah, Dixie, that's what you helped me do. And I'm like, oh, nobody ever said that term to me before. Here I am just really stepping more into self-worth, both for myself, deepening and deepening and deepening. And when I look back, that's actually something I've always been doing. And I've never settled. I'm like, okay, there's somebody else going back, talking about mentorship. I never had a lot of mentors growing up either. I mean, I had my grandmothers who worked hard, my mother who worked hard. We were farmers. And it was work hard, get the work done. And as I look back now, I'm so enamored with what my mom did, as and how resourceful and resilient she was and what she created, because she didn't come from a farm. She didn't come from that training. She had to jump into it, and then a young family, and she did what she needed to do to survive and thrive. And I've been in a lot of reflection lately too, where looking at my farm, looking at how we grew up with a lot of nothing. We had the farm, but we grew up in a trailer, that had holes in the walls, I remember, just flipping forward, it's like the new truck, the new car, the new house, the new, we literally, I grew up with my parents, right? So I wasn't in this gargantuan home where my parents just had the big home and the big gadgets and everything. I literally grew up level by level with my parents. And then I went out on my own. And I have been on my own since 17, and I grew up and I've up leveled and up leveled and up leveled. But I was always asking the question, where's my mentors? Who can I align with, and who can support me in my growth? Who has the answers? That was always a question I was asking. Who has the answers, and where can I get them? And so I'm so grateful, because I was always looking for a mentor, and I don't even really remember where that came from. Like, I knew a mentor. I think part of it was because I worked with engineers, was my first job. And it was about, they always had mentors. So when you look at lawyers, you look at accountants, you look at engineers, they all have built-in mentorship. Geologists, like a lot of
real estate agents. Yeah, when I was in real estate. Yep.
huge, a lot of degrees and designation organizations actually have a really powerful step-by-step mentorship program included in it. And I knew that I wanted something more. And so I've always gone out looking for my mentors. And I've always looked at who's doing it, who's successful, and who do I want to align with. And it's kind of been accidental, maybe not, right? But it's just been having clear intention. And I always believe that magic happens when you show up. So very much like you and I, how we met, we were in Dallas, and we happened to be sitting in the same area or something, and someone said,
next to each other, sweetheart.
you need to meet Sahar. And so we connected, and then it was that instant connection that moved to another conversation, another experience, and another experience, and another experience.
Yes.
And who knew, right? So sitting next to each other, having a completely different city.
Can I share what you've done to me? I want to brag about you.
Yeah.
Well, somebody introduced us, and
actually, it was Jill Lublin. It was
Jill. I was just gonna say, was it Jill? She's an amazing connector.
Yeah.
And you sat next to me, and as I was putting my elbow down, I said, "Ow," and it hurt. And she goes, "Oh, do you have pain here?" And I said, "Yeah, it's been hurting me for years." Literally, just a small dot on my elbow. And she goes, "Do you mind if I help you? I'm a healer." And of course I was skeptical. I'll go, "Yeah, she's gonna help me heal this after 2-3 years of it being in pain." And you touched that baby. I don't know what the heck you did. It was very painful, but ever since, my elbow never hurt again. And that's when I knew this woman has magic in her. I want her to align my whole body. And then I think we went to the room and you adjusted my whole body. You are so gifted. You are so gifted. I was so blessed. And you continue. The other day you did a session with me where you helped me with my knee, which is so much better, like literally 80% better. So of course we're going to be aligned. I do and support people and heal people differently, and you do the same. We're here to create shift and change.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to honor you for showing up in my life and making a difference. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we're just coming up to the end of our time, and I'd love for you to share any last guidance or any last words that you'd like to share with our listeners.
Yes. I just want to, you talked about purpose. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for honoring me and bringing me here. And I love our conversation, it was just so beautiful. And it's so good for you to see people's hearts addition to what they do for business. So I love that. It was so wonderful and I felt so good sharing what I had to share. So thank you everybody for listening to this. Thank you for bringing me here. And just know, if you don't know your purpose or you're still unsure and uncertain, the fact that you're asking is the first step. The fact that you're inquiring, you're contemplating, you're wondering is the first step. So
Mhm.
hands up to you. And if you are diving into your purpose, also know one thing. I think purpose comes in different levels. Just like you said with your family, you grow in different levels. Our calling and purpose evolve and grow.
Mhm.
And you have to just follow the guidance of spirit to know what is the next level for you.
Mhm.
And that's what I love helping people with.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I think it's so important to recognize that it's incremental. It's not
Yes,
like bam bam.
that's right.
And that's one of the things I see with so many people right now. I ask the question, what are your dreams? And people are going into this element of massive luxury. And then the next question is, well, how close are you to that bringing that into reality? Oh man, not even close, right? So it's defeating and it's depleting. Instead of looking at the incremental wins, like you can have like a big dream, but what are the steps that you're willing to take? Because it does take time to grow. It takes education, it takes mentorship, it takes teaching,
Practice,
practice,
manifestation
implementation.
practice,
Yes,
meditation,
absolutely.
visualization, all of that.
Consistency, right?
Consistency,
Consistently
showing up
taking
every
action
time.
and
Yes.
showing up every single day. And, I've been in business for a decade. I've been in my own personal business for 10 years. And it's been amazing watching how many people have actually fallen away
Oh, yeah.
because they're not taking consistent action and they try, give up and go try something else,
They're
right? But
not
it's about
pivoting, right?
not
With
pivoting, they're not
yeah,
transforming.
yeah.
Right. And I think that's the greatest gift that our business is massive personal development.
Oh,
It
amen.
challenges us on just like I believe relationships of any kind are the
Right.
same,
That's right.
right? They bring us our shadow aspects
That's
to
right.
be able to go deeper inside of them to transform it, and then we can up level.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just what a journey we're on, Dixie. A
Yes.
beautiful journey, and there's more goodness as you get more and more evolved. There's more joy, there's more love, there's more peace. When people call me and ask me during these times, "How are you doing?" I go, "I have peace in my heart
Yes. Yes.
and joy. I
Hmm.
am enjoying the moment, being with the moment."
I am too. And there's still, there is some uncertainty, and that's a real thing. But in it, this has been such a gift of time and a gift in space where again, reconnecting with you, having these amazing conversations, setting up this podcast, like there's been so many delicious pieces that's been coming together through all of this that I would not have been able to do. It maybe would have been down the line. I'll try to fit it in. But it was the first thing that I did, and I'm like, what do I want to do? Right? So
Well,
it's
yeah,
about
and you
grabbing
did. And
grabbing
you
the
did. Look at
opportunities.
you. And hopefully you'll come to our Soulful Leader virtual global gathering and share your brilliance with everybody as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Sahar, for being with me today. You can connect with her. I'm going to share a link from her in the show notes below. And as always, I so love our time together. I'm so grateful that we could do this today. And to our viewers, thanks for watching. I hope you found some value, and I just love to invite you to continue the conversation. Post in the comments below what inspires you, what your takeaways are. Please share it out into your community, and as we continue to bring hope, light, and love to the world. Until next time, abundant love. Thank you so much.